Okay, I think we are just about ready to get started. My name is Katie Zazera. I am the MBTA's Manager of Stakeholder Engagement, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our public meeting on the Ruggles Station Improvements Phase 2 project. I'm here tonight with my colleague, Katie Cho, our Chief of Capital Delivery, and the rest of the Ruggles Station Improvements Project team. Before we get started, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items for this virtual meeting. It is being recorded so that it can be shared with the people that were unable to join. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce our interpreters for tonight's meeting and explain how the language accessibility controls work. We will be welcoming ASL interpreters Aviva and Audrey and Spanish-speaking interpreter Emily. After our interpreters have introduced themselves, an icon will appear on your control panel that looks like a globe and is labeled interpretation. Please click here and select the language that you would like to hear. It is important to note that you will have to select ASL, Spanish, or English to continue participating in tonight's presentation.
Buenas noches a todo el mundo. En un momentico vamos a encender la función de interpretación para que los que desean escuchar la presentación en español lo puedan acceder en ese idioma. Simplemente ubícanse al fondo de su ventana de Zoom y ahí hacer clic en el icono del globo y seleccionar Spanish. Si se está conectando tras móvil, empuje los 3 puntitos, escoge Interpretation, pues Spanish, pues Done. Esperamos que disfruta de la presentación y lo vamos a encender en un momentico. Muchas gracias.
If you would like to turn on closed captioning for tonight's presentation, please click on the closed caption on your control panel. You can adjust the size of the caption by clicking the arrow next to the Start Stop video, click the video settings, then accessibility, and move the slider to adjust the caption size as needed. Next slide, please. If you have a technical question about Zoom or the features of tonight's meeting, please use the chat function. Our technical assistant will attempt to troubleshoot your problem and help you the best they can. Next slide, please. We will be having a question and answer period at the end of the presentation. During the presentation, all participants are muted upon entry so that only the presenters can be heard. Please raise your hand during the question and answer section, and the meeting host will ask to unmute you so that you can state your question or comment. If you'd like to send us a question, you can use the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen and submit a written question. If joining by phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. I will go over this at the end of the presentation as we go into the Q&A portion. Next slide, please. All MBTA activities, including public meetings, are free of discrimination. The MBTA complies with all federal and state civil rights requirements preventing discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, limited English proficiency, and additional characteristics. Next slide, please. Here's our agenda for tonight's meeting. We'll begin with an overview of the project, then discuss the existing conditions of Ruggles Station and present our proposed improvements. After that, we'll go over the project's next steps and our public outreach efforts. Following the presentation, there will be a question and answer period. I'm now going to hand it over to Katie Cho, who will continue our presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Cho, and I am the MBTA Chief of Capital Delivery. Ruggles Station is one of the most used stations in the MBTA network, serving customers on the Orange Line, the commuter rail, and several key bus routes. The Ruggles Station Improvement Project Phase 2 is designed to provide critical accessibility upgrades and improve the customer experience throughout the station. AECOM was awarded the design for this project in the fall of 2020 for a projected budget of $94 million. We are currently at 75% design and anticipate reaching 100% design completion in the fall of this year. Construction is expected to begin in the spring of 2023, and the project is anticipated to be completed in the spring of 2026. The scope of the project makes Ruggles Station fully accessible with improved signage and enhancements to customer path of travel. Additionally, we'll be adding new safety features, including an emergency generator, fire, sprinkler, and emergency lighting. These improvements will have a significant impact on enhancing accessibility, safety, reliability, and result in a more positive customer experience. Next slide, please. We have some examples here of the existing conditions on the outside portions of the station, the existing Columbus Avenue entrance, the existing commuter rail platform, and the existing Orange Line platform. Next slide. And inside the station, we have the existing station lobby on the left with its barrel vault ceiling. We have a view of the lobby at the transit police booth. And then we have the partially closed exit stairway on the Orange Line platform. Next slide. There are 5 elements that are being designed into this station for improvements. As part of this project, a new enclosed ramp will be installed from the east end of the Orange Line platform, connecting to the station lobby that's outlined in orange. Additionally, an exit stair at the end of the west end of the platform will be replaced, and that's also highlighted in orange, and that was shown on the previous slide as the partially closed staircase. Highlighted in purple, there's a new commuter rail entrance that will connect the lower busway with the Center Island commuter rail platform. This connection will include both stairs and an elevator on each platform. The Columbus Avenue entrance is not currently accessible. We will be upgrading the entrance with a new accessible ramp, terraced stairs, and a canopy that's outlined here in blue. And then we have additional features, which include skylight replacements, roof replacement, and station brightening, which is all highlighted in green. Next slide, please. So this is a rendering of what the new Columbus Avenue entrance will look like. It will include a new covered terraced ramp, making the station entrance fully accessible, an improved connection to the lower busway, new stairs, and landscaping and safety improvements. And we've maintained the architectural features of the existing entrance. Next slide, please. For commuter rail platform improvements, we'll see new stairs and elevators connecting the lower busway to the center platform. We'll be resurfacing the center platform from end to end so that it will look like a brand new platform. And we'll be providing new platform amenities that mirror what is seen in the new platform that opened just last year. Next slide. For the Orange Line, you will see a new ramp connecting the ramp to the lobby, reconstructed exit stairs from the platform to Ruggles Street, and that rendering is shown on the right, and the new ramp is shown on the left. You'll get platform edge repairs and new sidewalks. Next slide, please. And for interior improvements, we'll be installing new fare gates for the Orange Line near the Transit Police booth. We'll be replacing all of the doors, adding new lighting and signage throughout, putting in a new roof and skylights, and doing major cleaning and painting for a fully upgraded experience. Next slide, please. So looking at the project timeline and the next steps for the project. In addition to progressing the design, the project will continue to coordinate with DCR to develop improved connections between Ruggles Station and the Southwest Corridor Park. We will also continue coordination with the City of Boston and Northeastern University and continue all of our ongoing neighborhood outreach. As mentioned earlier, the design will be complete this fall. We expect to come back to the community with a pre-construction meeting in early 2023. Construction is scheduled to begin in the spring of 2023 and completed in the spring of 2026. Next slide, please. For those who are interested in learning more about the Ruggles Station Improvements Project Phase 2 and would like to receive updates on the project, you can visit www.mbta.com/Ruggles Improvements. You can also email us at rugglesimprovements@mbta.com. Now I'll turn it back over to Katie.
All right, everyone, as promised, we are going to have a question and answer period. So there are a couple of ways that you can comment. For starters, you can click the raised hand icon at the bottom, and I will call on you to then ask you to unmute to verbally ask a question or make a comment. If you would prefer to write a comment, we do have the Q&A box, which I will be monitoring. So I will read questions that come in and we will begin our question and answer period. So with that, I do see a couple of written questions that we'll start with. Jameson Brown asks, why is the Ruggles Street stair going to be exit only? Is there an opportunity to make it both an entrance and exit?
So Katie, I can answer that one. In order for us to make that stairway an entrance, we would have needed to build an entire new head house with fare gates and fully accessible. And we did not have the space to be, it was very complicated to try and do that. So we are leaving that as an exit only stairway.
Okay. Jennifer Jones asks, the Southwest Corridor Park bike path runs across the Columbus Avenue entrance. How will the project make it more defined and safer?
So this is one of the places where we are collaborating with DCR and the City of Boston. So those collaborations are ongoing. I don't know if anyone from the design team wants to comment further on that.
We met actually today at the site, and we are actively working with DCR. The intent is to have the bollards and those flagpoles moved, relocated to allow for the bikes to traverse the entrance without interfering with the folks using the new ramp or the stairs coming down. So it's an active coordination effort, but the bike path is definitely a design issue that we're trying to address.
Okay, we have a couple raised hands. So Matt Moran, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hey, Katie, Matt Moran with the Boston Transportation Department. Just wanted to quickly echo what you mentioned earlier, which was the close coordination that's happening between the City of Boston and MBTA in this project. I think we're very excited for the accessibility benefits, the bike and pedestrian improvements this project will bring. And, again, I think we're excited to continue working and collaborating with you all on this important initiative.
Thank you, Matt. Allison Poltinas, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, thank you very much, Katie. Yeah, a couple of themes that I wanted to follow up on related to and proximity to the Ruggles stairs is the existing turnaround where frequently MBTA vehicles are parked or random other cars and vans, etc. So is there going to be any work there? And technically, what is that driveway for?
Roger, do you want to take that one?
Sure. I'm assuming that you're talking about the space in front of the northeastern side of things.
No, I think the Ruggles Street stair, Roger.
Oh, the Ruggles Street stair, we're going to have the MBTA drop off. The ride is going to be moved in that location.
Okay. I think I just wanted to clarify my question a little bit more. It's a semicircular driveway right now. There's often as many as a dozen vehicles that will be parked there. And will there be a redesign of it? And do you have an image of what that might look like? And technically, who is it for?
So I'll start. We are looking at, and Roger, please chime in if you have more details. We are looking at the parking for MBTA vehicles as part of this station project. So that's been an active design discussion to make sure there's appropriate parking and that it's enforced. The area in front of the Ruggles Street stair, as Roger was pointing out, will be the area that the MBTA ride vehicles drop off and pick up and serve the station. So there will still be drop off and pick up in that area, but it will be reserved for the ride.
Are you referring to the parking that is under the trees along the bus ramp?
Well, that's another area that we should be talking about as well.
Because our design is going to address that. We're by the modifications we're making to the sidewalks and so forth, it's not going to be available to the cars to park there.
Are the trees going to stay, or are you cutting them down?
We may have to remove a couple of the trees to make room for the contractor to set up a construction zone to access the roof. As it was explained, the skylights are all being replaced. So in order to service that activity, the contractor is going to need to bring up material as well as remove material. In a location closest to the roof, in a space that is out of the way of operations of the whole station, is in that general facility where that parking is going on the right side as you pull up off the bus station.
Okay, thank you. But I would like to see an image of what this side of the station is going to look like. I don't see that in the presentation so far. That would be really helpful. And I do have other questions, but I don't know how many people are in line. So should I continue, or do you want me to come back with?
I was going to say, I do have a couple other raised hands, Allison. So if you would not mind, we'll keep your
come
hand
back.
raised
Thank
so
you.
I know to come back to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I see G. Saunders. your hand is raised, so I'm going to ask to unmute you.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Katie. My name is Gareth Saunders, and I do work for MassDOT in their government affairs office, but I'm also a user of the Orange Line. So I just want to ask this, it's a two-part question. One, what are some of the significant improvements for safety, both against crime and just against accidents, let's say, or yeah, accidents? And then the second part of my question is, the canopy that you guys have developed that comes off of the iconic entrance that leads onto Columbus Avenue. What's the purpose of that? I'm just curious. Is it just an architectural design, or does it have some other functional purpose? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll get started. The canopy on the ramp is actually there primarily to protect the ramp for from the elements, snow being the major one, so that it is always accessible, always an accessible path of travel. So we don't need to worry about snow removal on that ramp, making the station inaccessible. So that was the one. And then I'm sorry, I forgot the first part of the question.
About safety.
Safety.
You know, yeah, both from crime and just from any type of incident or accident that may happen functionally.
Yeah, I'll get started, and then if the project team wants to jump in, if I miss something, please feel free. So a big piece of that is going to be the upgrade to the lighting system. So we will be replacing all of the lights, which will result in a much brighter station, and that in and of itself tends to be a deterrent and something that improves the safety of the projects. I don't know if there is anything else specific to comment on. Michael, I see you popped on.
Yeah, the few other things that we know that are problems out there are all the bricks. Sometimes they heave. So we'll be fixing all the slip, trips, and falls that are out there. And another significant safety issue that we're going to fix are the heaving escalators that you see at this station. We're going to try to make all these surfaces nice and flat so that they are nice and safe for everyone for the foreseeable future, especially at Columbus Ave. If you've been there recently, the granite blocks that create those steps are all shifted and the handrails are kind of in disarray. So we'll be making all of this stuff a lot better and lasting for the foreseeable future.
I would add also off the Orange Line, we've added a ramp structure, which allows everyone to get on and off that ramp without the use of an elevator, without the use of stairs. Gives them another egress path in the event that there was an emergency and they needed to get off that platform.
Thank you.
All righty. I have a written question from Jennifer Leonard. Two questions actually about the Southwest Corridor bike path. One, can we be assured that the bike path continue to be an off-road path that is not rerouted onto the street? And two, are you considering any striping or stenciling to delineate the bike path, something we have been eager to see?
The path as it crosses the front of Columbus Ave, that entrance, we are talking with DCR now on determining their typical cross-section, the material they use for the path itself, and color materials, something to delineate it. So this way that becomes a safety issue as well when you have a number of people exiting the station at the same time. Bikers are trying to traverse that area. By having it painted or marked clearly that it's a bike path, pedestrians will be standing in there if they're just talking and conversing with others as they exit the station. So yes, we are considering it, and there's a move afoot to actually incorporate it.
And we have no plans to put the bike path in the roadway, so it will stay separated from
Correct.
vehicles.
True.
All right, I do not have any questions in the chat box or raised hand, so I would invite people to do so. Allison, I know you had mentioned you had another question, so I'm going to invite you to unmute again with the follow-up question you had.
Thank you. I actually have more than one. I wondered if you could, well, two things. I did ask if you had renderings of what the actual plans are, since this is the 75% hearing, right? Is this the official 75% design review?
This
Do you
is
have-
this is a design update, and the renderings we have are within this deck, which will be posted to the web page. So that's what we have available at this time.
Okay, but they will be available soon on the webpage?
Yes. After this meeting, we then submit it to our web team to post to the website. So yes.
I see. Okay, thank you. So specifically, to follow up the questions about the vehicles in the busway and the driveways, how many cars and are you planning to accommodate, you know, between MBTA employees and MBTA vans, et cetera? What are the plans for how many vehicles will be accommodated for parking?
Presently, we have working with trying to incorporate the bike path over the Columbus Ave or Columbus Street Bridge area, as well as making sure that that exit only is safe. We will probably be putting in bollards in the light at that entrance. The bike path that traverses the bridge is about 10 to 12 feet in width. The sidewalk is about that same width. Odds are we will be removing there's parallel parking on both sides of that bridge with the drive-through in the middle. We'll be removing one of those parking sides, and the other one will be for MBTA police. To give you a number, I don't have a number at this point. I know we'll be reducing it a little bit, but I can't give you a number.
Okay, but the current situation is that MBTA drivers are allowed to park in many places under the station. Will that change? That there's many vehicles parked at the station, private vehicles. Are you planning to accommodate those or not allow them in the future?
So we are working with transit operations to reduce the parking in the area and to make sure that we're providing appropriate parking for vehicles that need to be there. But those are still ongoing discussions in terms of the exact number.
Okay, thank you. And I heard some answers about the bike path. The question about the MBTA vans using the driveway off Ruggles, if they are transporting T riders, how do those riders access the station from that driveway? What's the route they would use?
The future drop-off will be at Columbus Ave.
Okay.
So everybody will be dropped off there and utilize the accessible ramp or the terrace stairs into the station.
Okay, that makes sense. So the driveway on Ruggles won't be used for MBTA, the ride vehicles? Is that?
Correct.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood what you explained earlier.
I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong earlier. I apologize, Allison.
Okay, so my question again sits out there of what that driveway will be used for. If it, just going forward, it's a lot of asphalt. It's, seems like it's not signed very carefully and so on. Okay, final question. The T has the bus redesign project going on that shows many fewer buses using the lower busway. How does this plan relate to that?
We are not making specific changes to the lower busway as part of this project beyond improving access to it. So there is no real change in this design based off of the bus network redesign planning at this moment.
At this moment, okay. But you might want to rethink some things in the future, given how fewer buses will be using the lower busway?
It's always possible.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you.
All right, I have a written question that goes back. This is David Ween. So from a question earlier, this was about the striping on the bike path that was not answered. The new section along Carter Field has striping in the center of the bike path. It would be extremely helpful and a safety enhancement if this striping were continued in the stretch between Ruggles Street and Melnia Cass to match the striping that now exists from Melnia Cass to Camden Street. Do we have any comments on that?
Some of that is outside our project limits, so we wouldn't be able to address that. My only response would be that this is one of the areas that we're still working with DCR on in terms of what the bike path looks like. So we can certainly bring this suggestion back to those conversations. But in the end, DCR really owns the bike path, so we're working with them and they work with us. So it's a collaborative process.
Okay, again, I'd like to invite people to raise hands or put questions in the chat box. And as a reminder, if you can't think of a question tonight, but you think of one tomorrow or sometime next week, we do have a regularly monitored project inbox, which is on the bottom of the screen right here. It's rugglesinmprovements@mbta.com. And again, following this meeting in the next few days, this presentation, both the recording and the deck itself, will be available on the project's webpage, which is mbta.com/rugglesinmprovements. And I believe there you can also click to sign up for an email distribution where our project team sends updates as we continue to work on this project. Allison, you have another question. I will unmute you.
Thank you. And I do write for a local paper, the Fenway News, so I should have identified myself earlier. Just wondering how this meeting was advertised. I got the notice less than 24 hours ago. But how did you do outreach for this meeting?
So we had advertisements on the digital boards throughout the Orange Line. There is a stakeholder email database that was also used, and notifications were sent to all of our local partners to help us distribute. I'm happy to talk offline about more specifics, but there was ample distribution of notice several weeks in advance.
Really? Okay. Well, funny that Lisa Battison only sent it yesterday. Okay. Well, that's helpful. And how many participants are on the call right now?
I believe we have over 25 participants. I don't have the number pulled up right in front of me.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for me.
All right. I have a question in the chat box. Is there a way this project can speed buses as they go through the busway?
So this project is not making any changes to the busway. We're focused on the station and accessibility improvements to the station. If you have more specifics on what you are thinking about, we typically don't encourage speed in the busways for safety reasons, but if there is a particular operational concern that you'd like to raise, please feel free to email it to us at the project email, and we will pass it along to the bus operations staff.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Oh, I see, all I see is AM. We're going to unmute you.
Thank you. This is a Lenson, Michelle. I'm just arriving because of conflicts with other meetings. So I don't know if this was covered already, but what is is there going to be plans to close off parts of the station? And if so, what is the expected time period?
I'm assuming you're talking about during construction, correct?
Yes, during
Okay.
construction.
So we're not quite at the point of having our construction phasing design done. That's something that happens after the 75% design. We always, when we look at how we phase our construction projects, we balance trying to minimize inconveniences to our passengers with our operations, with our with construction efficiency, right? And trying to hit that sweet spot is always a little bit of a challenge. So we don't know yet, you know, what sort of shutdowns either to the station or the service will necessarily be incorporated into the project. That will come later in design, and then we'll certainly discuss those as part of the next public meeting, which will be the pre-construction public meeting. There will certainly be impacts to the passengers, so we can't avoid that when we're working in a station that has ongoing operations, but we do want to minimize that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think with no other comments outstanding, we're going to bring this meeting to a close. Again, thank you to everyone who has been able to join us this evening. This recording and the PowerPoint will go live on the website in the next few days, and we look forward to continuing to hear from and work with you on this very exciting project. I hope you have a wonderful evening.